Hi, my name's Elena Love. I'm a raw food chef and you're watching everydaydish.tv. Right now I'm going to show you how to make a raw vegan sour cream. So many of us love sour cream. I mean, it can be eaten on potatoes, it can be eaten on so many different things. I just love it like almost as a salad dressing. And a lot of times when you start eating more raw food, you're trying to get away from dairy, you're trying to get away from a lot of processed fats. So what a great thing to do to know how to make a raw vegan sour cream. What I love about making raw foods as well is that you can take something like sour cream from a world that we've known about sour creams for years and get really creative and figure out how to balance these flavors to make something else taste like sour cream. So that's one thing to get creative with when you're making raw food dishes, is to think about how to make something taste like something else. So what I've decided today with my sour cream, a recipe I've come up with, is to use a young coconut. These are young Thai coconuts. You can buy them in an Asian market. There's a place called Ranch 99 all along the West Coast that sells the coconuts pretty easily. Most health food stores are now carrying them as well, so they're fairly easy to find. When you're buying a coconut, you want to check the bottom, make sure there's no black spots or pink spots, and that it's not cracked. This is a beautiful coconut because it's in integrity. There's no mold anywhere. Make sure that it's been refrigerated when you buy it, that it's not, sitting on a shelf somewhere, because it is a fresh raw product. I'm going to take this coconut and I'm going to show you a really easy way to open it, because when I first started I didn't know how to open these and I had a heck of a time. So now I've found a really easy way to do it, and I hope that it'll be easy for you too. You want to lay it on its side, and you're going to take your cleaver, and when you buy a cleaver, make sure that it has rivets in it. If it's riveted and make sure the metal goes down, it's going to be a much safer knife than if you can't see where the blade ends. If it ends there, it could come out easily. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to make sure my blade's nice and sharp. Use a knife sharpener if you have one. And then I'm going to cut the husk off. And the way I do that is I just press down firmly and get all the outer husk off the top. And I'm just going around and making a circle. And it's important to get all the husk off and not leave any of that, because wherever there's a husk, it's going to act like a bind and it won't let the coconut open. Now you can see by looking, I've made this nice round shell and it's hard there, so you can tell this is soft. That's hard. I want it to show a hard round circle. The smaller the circle is that I cut, the smaller the opening is going to be, and I might not be able to get my meat out. So I want it to be big enough to be able to fit an ice cream scoop in. So think about that when you're cutting it. Now this is the easy part. And you don't have to worry about it being safe, because you're going to put your coconut on its side. You're going to take the knife and cut away from you. The back corner of the knife is just going to make a nice whack into the coconut. Sometimes you have to try a couple times. See how I've gotten it in there? And then I'm just going to push straight down, and it's going to pop right open. Did you see that? It just popped right open. And you've got, voila, a drink you could just serve to someone just like that. They can drink it like a cup and then scoop the meat out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and put it in my measuring cup and have that later. Now, coconut water is full of electrolytes. It's an amazing food for healing. They used to use it in World War II as a blood transfusion when they didn't have enough blood, because it's so similar to our hemoglobin. It's one of those wonderful, amazing foods, great for when you're working out, just great to replenish to hydrate yourself and replenish your electrolytes. So we're going to put that over here for now, and I'm going to show you how I like to scoop the meat out of my coconut. I have what's called a fruit scoop. It's used for melons and avocados, but you can also use it for coconut. If you don't have one of these, don't worry, you can just use an ice cream scoop. But if you're going to do a lot of coconuts, these are great to have around. Real easy to find at a cooking store. Just take it and scoop, and you're going to get that meat right off of there. So you can see, just stick it in, and I'm going to go around in a circle. People also use spatulas to get their coconut meat out. Anything, whatever's your favorite. These are just my favorite, and I happen to have them, so I like to use them. I'm a gadget girl. All right, so I've got about a half a cup of coconut meat. Most coconuts, if you're looking at a recipe that says half a cup of coconut meat, how do you know how much coconut to buy? Well, generally, as a rule of thumb, one coconut yields about a half a cup of meat. So good to know. And generally, as a rule of thumb, unless it's a very small coconut, about 1.5 cups of water per coconut. So I'll say that again, a half a cup of meat per coconut and 1.5 cups of water per coconut. So if you're following a recipe, you kind of know how many to buy. Always buy a couple extra, because sometimes you get bad ones. If it's pink or if it smells musty like somebody's basement or garage, it's probably not something you want to put in your body, because there's mold in there even though you can't see it. Okay, so these shells are great as a little to-go container. Look at that. I've got the lid. Here you go. You can send your guests away. You don't have to worry about them returning your Tupperware, right? Ever done that? You're like, where'd my Tupperware go? The other thing is it can be used as a flower vase. If you're doing like a nice meal, you could put mint leaves and lavender flowers in there. put these on your table. It's a very unique little vase to use. So I'm going to put all that aside, and I'm going to put my coconut meat right into my blender. That's about a half a cup. Now today, as my other fat I'm going to use in here, I'm going to use hemp seeds. This is my new favorite seed to use. I've been using pine nuts for years for my sour cream. Recently switched over to hemp seeds, and the feedback I'm getting from everybody that's eating it is they just cannot get enough of it. The other thing is hemp seeds are so much more nutritious than other nuts. Really high in protein, easy to digest, a wonderful, wonderful food. If anybody ever asks you how you get your protein, just say from hemp seeds. End of conversation, right? So there we go. I'm going to put my hemp seeds in. I've got a little bit of a balance of foods here that are going to make it taste sour. The one I have is lemon juice, a little bit of lemon juice going in. Apple cider vinegar, because it's going to give it a little even more sour flavor to it. And then I'm going to put a little bit of my salt in. This doesn't call for a lot of salt, just a pinch of salt. And a tablespoon of mellow white miso. Different colors of miso and different flavors depending on what you're making. For a sour cream or something light like cheesy, you're going to always want to use the white mellow miso. For a better than beef or something rich and flavorful, you want to use the dark miso. So that's about a tablespoon of that. And then enough water to cover. I've got my water here. Now people ask me, can I use the coconut water in there? Yes, you can, but it's going to taste sweeter and also more coconutty. And we're making sour cream, so we don't really need that. Plus, you can use that water just to drink and enjoy on its own. I'm just going to do enough water in here to cover to the top of the seeds. So it's just going to be sitting right to the top line. And it looks like in my blender, just for your information, it's about to the 2-cup line. So my blender has exactly 2 cups of ingredients in it. Put my lid on. Make sure that lid's on there nice and tight. You don't have any gaps so nothing goes flying anywhere. You always want to start your Vitamix blender. I'm using the Vitamix here today, which is a 2 horsepower, very powerful blender. Start on low and then push it on. And we're going to turn it up to high and get it nice and creamy. Okay, that creamed up beautifully. I can see that. I didn't even need to help it along at all with a spatula or a plunger. I just got it creamed up perfectly. Little squirt bottles are great to have around if you're going to serve it right away, which I'll show you how to serve it on our enchilada spiral. But you can also put it in a glass jar. I prefer to store my food in glass if I'm going to keep it. This will keep for up to 2 weeks in your refrigerator. It's almost like a mayonnaise. The longer it sits, it's going to get thicker. And it's going to be a beautiful thing just to have to scoop out any time that you're craving something like sour cream or dairy. Great substitute. You can make enough to keep for 2 weeks for the whole family. Everybody's going to love it. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful treat. So let's take our little tamale that I showed you how to make earlier. And we're going to just squirt a little sour cream over the top. And in the next segment, I'm going to show you how to make a enchilada sauce to also go with this. We're just going to keep building on this. Eat it just as is, or put a little avocado slice with it, or you can make the tamale sauce, which I'm going to be showing you next. So thank you for joining me on everydaydish.tv, and be sure to go to the website for your recipes. Thank you.